That's it. I'm on my way.
All right, thanks for tuning in. This is Under the Influence on Texas 101 Jam. I am S. Lynn.
And I am Brad the Barber.
All I can say is that.
And yes, this is Mr. Rush. Don't count me out, but count me in. And today, guys, this is a very special night because I have a very special guest here, which is Mrs. Leticia Plummer, running for U.S. Congress, District 22.
Right.
It's a pleasure to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed.
It's a great way to spend pre-election night.
Well, you're here with Under Influence, and we gracefully love to have you here, and it's a blessing to have you here. And you know, we've been going over some things the last couple of weeks in reference to voting. We've been talking about different things about voting and why it is important to vote. Should you vote in the community? And why is it so important to voice your opinion?
Right.
And you're here running for U.S. Congress, District 22. And what does that mean to you in reference to the race that you've been running right now?
It's been one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my entire life. It has stretched me and allowed me to reach for stars that I just didn't ever imagine. And so it's been an amazing experience, a lot of hard work, but anything that allows you to be successful is obviously hard. So this has been an amazing experience. It's incredibly important. I'm running for Congress because the things that are important to me, like health care, education for our children, protections of our children, those are determined at a federal level. And so that's why I'm running and fighting, because we need someone representing us and our communities in Congress right now, and we just don't have that right now.
Of course. So, and I've been seeing you out here. You've been in churches. You've been in the streets. And I see you even did the Black Women's March.
Yes,
How was that experience Saturday?
It was great because we really got out there all together as one with one voice, and the speakers were so inspiring, and it was great. It really was.
So your background, you're a dentist.
Yes.
You've been a dentist for how long?
18 years.
18
Yes.
years.
Yes.
Wow. So what made you want to step up to the plate into this arena and challenge and do this big challenge? This is a big challenge.
So sometimes losses are your biggest gains.
Of course.
And 4 years ago I had a traumatic loss in my life, and I lost custody of my son in a surrogacy case. And it was devastating, obviously. But it allowed me to really stand up and speak for a lot of people that just didn't have a voice. And so I was able to change legislation in the state of Texas. By writing some legislation. I got my bill passed unanimously in the House. We still have to get to the Senate. But one thing is that every family attorney, every family judge, and family court system understands surrogacy now and understand how important it is to keep families together. And that was it. After that happened, I realized how powerful one person and the difference one person can make. And I'm just going to continue to do that. And now I want to speak for America and speak for District 22. And I know I can.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot of Black women are stepping up to I think they call this the pink wave or something like that.
The blue wave.
The blue wave. I'm sorry. The blue wave. A lot of just Black women in general are stepping up to the plate and wanting to run in their community. You know, what would you say made this come about as far as a lot of people stepping up? I mean, especially Black women wanting to step up and run the race in their community.
Well, we're 53, well, not African, but women in general are about 53% of the population, and we're not represented on anything. And I think that women in general, especially Black women, are just tired. Women typically make 80 cents to the dollar to a man. African American women make 60 cents to the dollar. So, African American women typically are dying at childbirth with maternal mortality. We don't have access to health care like other people do. So a lot of the issues that a lot of us are dealing with right now as Black women are on a federal level. And we're really trying to speak up and have a voice. And we're incredibly empowered right now.
I was looking at your things that you're fighting for right now, and I see that health care is one of them.
Yes.
So with the two that interest me the most were the health care, of course, because I mean, I understand some people didn't want to get it when it was Obamacare, but
Right.
I mean, this is something that we all need. You know, it's like car insurance. You know, you just got it
Just in case, right?
Right. But those two interest me. Can you speak on that? Because I saw you speak about the oil and gas, the climate, and the healthcare.
Sure. So healthcare is a little complicated, as everyone knows. I mean, no one really knows what they have in their health plan. But being a dentist and being in healthcare and understanding it, I opened six public health centers. So I understand the public health side and the private side. And one thing that we have to have is accessibility to healthcare, but more importantly, it has to be affordable. And that's what we don't have right now. And so what I'm fighting for is healthcare for all. I know a lot of listeners maybe have heard of Medicare for all, and a lot of people are fighting for that, and that's single payer. I just don't, that's not what I think is possible at this moment. Like in 2018, when this thing happens, I feel like we need to improve the Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
And we need to do it in a couple ways. I mean, one, we need to create a public option which allows Medicare to be purchased, okay? And the government only charges about 1% profit. So it's really low. The premiums are naturally going to be low. Currently, the reason why we're seeing high premiums on insurance right now is because we're only competing with insurance companies within the state. You see what I'm saying? And so if we can create a national network to where nationally we compete, we're going to drive down those costs. And then thirdly, we need to create, we need to elect governors that'll support the expansion of Medicaid.
Exactly.
And what people don't understand is Medicaid is helping with mental health. It's helping people with disabilities, and it's helping so many people that really are at a disadvantage right now. So that's my plan, and the reason why I'm sticking with that is because it's doable. A lot of politicians right now talk about things that aren't achievable, and I don't want to be a pie in the sky, politician. I mean, I'm a real life person. I live just like you guys. I have the same struggles you guys have, the same struggle typically the average American has. So I want to put things in place I know we can achieve, so that America isn't disappointed, because that's where we're in right now. That's why people are not voting, Rush.
Yeah.
Because they're disgruntled, they're disappointed, they're
are.
tired of people promising things are not achievable.
Right.
So we,
know what I'm saying?
Right now, are we seeing more people? Have you witnessed more people right now that are showing up to the polls, or how is that right now?
We are over 300%. We are showing up.
So we're showing up.
We are showing up. I mean, our district is traditionally red, and we're purple right now.
Of course.
So obviously, it would be probably the motivation for this would be the last presidential campaign.
Yes, yes, definitely. And people are using their voice the right way. I mean, we're African American. We have fought hard, to make sure this happens for us. The last thing we need to do is sit down right now.
What would you say is the difference between people showing up now as opposed to people showing up at that present time during election? I mean, why are people so geared up to vote now opposed to back then? Because I think a lot of people took a seat back.
They did. Honestly, and this is one thing that we're dealing with our personal race right now. I feel like people got comfortable. Sometimes you think everything's okay. You sit back and say, "Oh, she'll get it. They'll do it. It's all right. It doesn't matter. She's got it."
That's true.
And that's we kind of live that way in our lives, right?
That's what happened.
And that's what happened. We all sat on our couch. Exactly. I got this.
She
I got
did
this. And I just don't. I don't live my life that way.
Right.
I never get comfortable. I'm always fighting, and I've been doing it all my life.
So how do you? I gotta ask the oddball question.
Sure.
How do you handle the opposition?
Well, currently my opposition is.
I'm not talking about from the other people that are running the
Okay.
issue. I'm talking about from your own people.
I just have to stay focused. In my personal opinion, I think it's all a distraction. I think that we get distracted by the noise. And one thing I've learned from this race is stay focused, keep my eye on the prize. I know what I want. I know how to get it. And all the background noise, I just ignore it. I can't focus on it because that's how we lose.
Tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision. I know
That's
exactly. I got my eye on the prize.
That's probably one of the most, I guess, honest responses, non-political responses I've ever heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I just focus on what I know I've worked almost a year for. Because I feel like people typically, when they're uncertain, and and this just goes back to the people you surround yourself with.
Of course.
You have, everyone always says, if you want to be successful, keep someone successful in front of you, right? That's how I live my life. There's no other way to do it.
So that's people in your camp. But I'm talking about that too. But that's a good one. But I'm more or less talking about people who could possibly vote, but will see you or hear you talk. And believe it or not, you got black people that are petty as all get out, and they'll look at you and say, well, look at her, long hair and well spoken, but she probably half white, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Something
I
like
understand that part.
That's what I mean by how do you handle, because those people could vote, but it's like they get blinded by the image.
Right.
Just because you went to college and you're well versed, they will say something like, you know what I'm saying, bougie, I'm not voting for her, and they're not even listening to what you're saying.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, I mean, I think just in everything, I think you have those challenges.
Right.
And what my ask and my plea would be is just to trust that I will take care of you.
Or listen to what
And
I'm saying.
listen to what I have to say,
Okay.
because, you know, everyone has a specific image, and we're all judged by how we look. And that's how we lose. I mean, they have counted us out. Okay,
Definitely.
and so we can all make excuses, and we can talk about why. Yeah, no, we are counted out, and this is why we are not able to secure our place in society in general.
I think a lot of it too is the lack of knowledge just within the community about,
Just gonna say that.
you know, voting, why you should vote, and or can you vote? You know, if you have certain things, you know, on your record, and I think that in sometimes they put up, you know, Republicans put up different fronts to the community that would make, especially the black community, feel like, oh, you know what, I was gonna vote, but I don't think I can. So they become, you know, a lot of people become like, in a sense, like, you know what, I wanted to vote, but I don't think I can vote because I don't have the voice, because I have this going on, or I have this felony, or I have this thing on my record, so I can't even do that.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier. But I'm gonna tell you, when you go through the whole election of, you know, Obama's first and second one, but mainly his first one, you know, that was the one that really, because what I noticed is like in Atlanta, you had T.I., they were getting buses, they were going into the actual neighborhoods, busing people to the polls. So what I thought was funny, I mean, first of all, that's what needed to happen. Obviously, from the Bush administration, it was time for that was the first step. Then the comfortability part that played in, and then, you know, we really didn't think that he would be president. So
I remember where I was.
But I'm gonna tell you what was just a mirror, but it was in reverse. So like the actual, when you face the mirror, it is reverse. But I'm gonna tell you what was funny. Oh, the Trump election did the same thing. They went into the trailer park homes. They got all them people. They went and got all them old KKK down there. Everybody.
Those people voted for Obama because he was black.
But the point I was making was that it's still the fact still remains the same on both sides. And even, you know, I don't like to get too deep into it, but when you take the mere fact that the truth of the matter is, you have to get out and vote.
Right.
And that's what happened. It was just in reverse. Trump was just in reverse, but it was all for the wrong reasons. To me, on the Trump side, but
he went to the
you
places
you can say that on the Obama side too, because they busing people. They were busing people from the neighborhoods, getting them to vote. But why were those people voting in the first place?
You know,
half of those did those people vote? I mean, when the white man asks you that question, you get mad about it because he asked you, "Did you vote for Obama because he was black?" But why do you think what?
I don't think everybody.
What do you? I didn't say everybody.
You're gonna have that.
But what I'm saying is, those people that they were busing from these inner communities, these communities where the people didn't get out and vote. Why do you think they got up and got on these buses to go vote? Because T.I. came in the neighborhood in a bus and got them.
But let me tell you what. So there are three things.
Okay.
Number one, the local elections that are happening in midterms are the people that are actually going to affect your life.
Local is the most important.
So your Congress, your state reps, your senators, those are the races that are happening right now. Those are the people you can actually pick up the phone and call.
The important.
Exactly, and that's and we typically have really low voting numbers in midterms. Okay, so that's number one. So the power right now is very key because we can really turn this thing around. I went to Silver Lake Church on Sunday, and Pastor Devon said two things to me that I will never forget. Two things. He said one thing is when you take a selfie, the person you see in that picture is the one who's in the way. Okay? So the only person's in every selfie is yourself. We stay in our way. Mm-hmm. We make excuses. We talk about why we don't have something. Mm-hmm. Listen, get out of your way. Get out of your own way.
Everybody's not against you. Sometimes you just
got to get out of your own way. That's right. And that was powerful. And the other thing that he said, and the other thing that happened when I was at the church, is a gentleman came up to me and said, I would love to vote for you, but I can't because I'm on parole. Okay? Those are ways of limiting our voting power.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So, and I will work on that when I get to college. We're going to handle that. Yeah. Because if you have been doing all the things you're supposed to do, there is no reason your voice is taken away from you.
Exactly.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we just have to understand that we have so much power. And if we could just do what we're supposed to do and vote people in at the level I'm talking about, the Congress, the state reps, the senator races, and hold them accountable, we can make miracles happen.
You have to really, people are starting to understand that now. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it was a wake-up call for, this whole Trump administration was a wake-up call for a lot of people. But I think that there needs to be more education on this level shed. Mm-hmm. It needs to be spread because we think we're working from the top to bottom when we're supposed to be working from the bottom to the top. Because the foundation part, and we don't know that, and really at that point it's not just all color, color thing that doesn't know. A lot of people are ignorant to the fact to the voting structure. I'm still ignorant to a lot of stuff when it comes to vote. Like I didn't understand that whole college thing, and I was like, wait a minute,
the electoral
college,
what? Break that down. But we need more of that. So.
When we did Rush to Vote, when they first started Rush to Vote, and we were out there in the streets doing Rush to Vote, that was one of the things that we were telling people is that, we want you to get out and vote on the president's side,
right?
But we were pushing more on the local side because these are the people that you need to get in office.
Where we live.
Because this is where you live. You're too busy saying, I'm not going to vote because I don't want to vote for. There are other names on the ballot, and that's what we was pushing a lot.
Right.
When we was at TSU, we had TSU on lock every Wednesday. We was at TSU.
Yeah, I know. It was so
it was just like y'all need to understand what we're saying. We had one young lady with us, and she was one of the well-known figures up there at Texas Southern, and she would actually grab somebody by the arm and say, "Come register to vote." Come register, and guess what they were doing? They were going, "Yes, ma'am, we're going to do it," and they would come to that table and register to vote because they knew who she was and they knew what she stood for.
And they followed suit.
You know what I'm saying? That's right.
She followed suit.
She really did. She was a real sweet girl, and she helped out a lot. So I know what I kind of got an idea of what your struggle is, but I can't say that I know because I'm not you.
Yeah.
But I realize that when you make it, they think that this one vote. And what I found out, listeners, is that it's one vote to get to one level, then it's another run to get to another level, and then it's another run to get to the big game.
Yes.
So she's actually in a boxing ring where she's sparring to get to the next one.
What's the deepest level the highest?
So right now there are 5 people in my race.
Okay.
And so typically it's almost impossible statistically for one person to get 51% of the vote. And so what's going to happen tomorrow is we're going to determine who's 1 and 2. Once we determine who's in a runoff, and a lot of the races happening in Houston are going to be like that because there's 7 people and 8 people in races now. Exactly.
Okay.
So there'll be a lot of runoffs. Now, once we get to the runoff, we got to now run our race till May, to the end of May.
Okay.
And then that's when your nominee is going to come out. And once we get to your nominee, the Democratic nominee, then I got to go against the Republican. And that's going to be in November.
So it's one.
So it'll be almost 2 years of me running my race.
So what's the actual the
22nd district?
What does all that entail? From where to where?
Sure, it's 3 counties. It's Harris County, which encompasses a lot of Sagemont area, 45 of the Beltway, almost all of Friendswood, a little bit of Clear Lake, coming up toward Brazoria County. That's the 2nd county. That's all of Pearland, Manville, all those areas. And then we come up Highway 6, taking all of Sienna Plantation, all the way through Sugar Land. And then we go up 99 to Katy, to Cinco Ranch, Fort Bend.
It stops in Cinco?
It stops in Cinco. No. Gosh, no. It goes in Needville.
Needville.
Yeah, and Rosenberg, Richmond.
Are you like in the Cypress area?
No, not in the Cypress area. No. So it's 800 and approximately 80,000 people in the district, and I've gone from tip to tip. It takes about 2.5 hours.
So you get Manville too?
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
And does it stop at Manville?
No, it goes down into a little bit of Angleton, just a little bit of Angleton. Yeah, not too much of it, but a little south, a little bit of that area.
Coming this way.
Exactly, and that's called gerrymandering. So everyone's heard that name before.
So explain.
It's perfectly cut. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So gerrymandering is how they draw the lines to maintain control of a district. Okay. So Al Green butts up against my district. If you put too many black people in my district, then it's Democratic. Or too many minorities. You got it. It's not really balance, it's control. Okay? And so what they do is they draw those lines based on how they want to control the district. You see what I'm saying? And so my district is Republican typically. But not anymore though. It's really purple now. We've really changed it. Yeah, it's not the line, the influx of people. So Pearland and so Fort Bend has really changed how our district looks.
Yeah.
And Sienna Plantation, right?
A lot of black people in
Yeah,
there too.
exactly. And Asian. I mean, it's really great. I mean, we had, our Indian Asian community is strong.
So, real quick, just break down to me from when you were planning to cross this threshold.
Okay.
From
My legislation.
Right? No, well, with your son.
Okay, okay.
So what process after you said, okay, well, I want to change some things, I'm assuming that there was a snowball effect of motivation.
Yeah, sure.
So break me down through that process of what you got here. How did that work? What do you have to do? What do you have to submit to
get it done?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great question. And so I wrote my legislation. What that brought me to Texas, the Texas House in Austin, right? And it really got me to understand how legislation works. I wrote my own bill. State Rep Jessica, basically, literally, I wrote down on a piece of paper what could have changed my situation, and that's how it happened. And it was healing for me. I wrote everything down. I called a very good friend of mine, Joe Desitel, out of Beaumont, and I said, I know this is not something that you typically, not a bill that you would normally carry, but it's dear to me. And I feel like people that go through this issue are not speaking up. There was a loophole in the Texas law. It just was missing. I mean, I read through all the family law, and there was nothing that protected the intended parent in a divorce. It was like, it's almost like reading a book, and chapter 5 is missing.
Right.
But the end is there.
And nobody's trying to find it.
No. And I feel like people knew it was missing, but just didn't know what to do to fix it. And so my law basically fixed that loophole.
And what was that law?
So basically, when you are in when you have a child with a surrogate, okay, or your adoptive parent, and you go through a divorce, the judge needs to know there's a child of the marriage. Even though I'm not birthing the child physically, the judge needs to know, because so in the state of Texas, you cannot get a divorce if you're pregnant.
Wow.
You have to wait. Yeah. So in Texas, you cannot, if you're pregnant, you can file for divorce. But the judge would not grant the divorce. The first thing they're going to ask you in court is, Mom, are you pregnant? And it makes sense on why. The next thing that has to happen is we need to make sure that that child has rights. You see what I'm saying? And so if you could get a divorce, then what happens to the rights? What happens to every other weekend and child support issues? You can't go back and fix it. So the judge puts a halt on it, makes you figure all of those custody arrangements that need to happen, right? And then everything's in set, and now you move on with the best interest of the child, okay? In surrogacy, it's not like that. So my ex was able to actually, file for divorce, and Alex just kind of hanging there.
Wow.
He's being raised with no, I'm his mother, I'm on his birth certificate. I'm on all the documents, but because my paperwork was not filed to the court system timely, I didn't show up at all. And so he was able to file for divorce and not have me in any part of it.
Wow.
So what I did was I closed that loophole.
That missing chapter.
Exactly. I filled in chapter 5.
So you found a demand for fixation, right?
Yes. And so although it may not happen to a lot of people, when it happens to you, you feel like your world is falling down. Yes.
Right.
Well, this situation almost never happens. Well, it did.
Yeah, it did. And then, of course, then when you speak about it,
do?
other people call you, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you helped me so much. Just your information just helped me so much. Will you help me do my, in the snowball?" So then I started being an advocate for intended parents, adoptive parents. And then after that, I started getting on local races and local campaigns. So behind the scenes, really the grunt work in the ground game of what really changes things. And then after that, I got a phone call of an organization that said, "Listen, we want real people to run for Congress." And at that moment, the assignment, right? When you get that assignment,
right,
and you realize the whole 4 years flash back to my head. It's like, oh my gosh. This is why.
Yeah, you never knew you were building yourself.
Right.
You never knew while you were doing the work.
That's good, right?
You know what I mean? And I said, I want to say yes to you, but I need to call my village first.
right.
Well, it makes it.
I should do with my village to make sure I had the support that I needed to do. And once they said Tisha, go for it, it's on.
It makes it more believable because most of the people that I've seen running for office, they talk about what they really want to do and what their thing is. But if you ask them, how'd you come up with that? Well, I know somebody who went through that. But it makes it more believable because when they ask you, you can hit them with the truth. And they can't, run from that. And it's more believable. That's how you get a lot of people because she's genuine. Because somebody will be like, she don't know what she's talking about. Girl, you better shut up. Yes, she do. I've almost lost. I remember going to court that one day, and my grandmother looked at me. She says, "Listen," she goes, "you can't lose everything. You have a practice. You got 3 other boys that really need you. Is that real question when you have to pick and choose what you're willing to lose and sacrifice." And so I know I am educated. I come from a really great family, and I'm unapologetically feeling that way. But I will tell you, I understand struggles. I understand what it is to have, unpaid bills and worry about my my practice closing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand those pieces of it, and I'm a very real person. That's why I need you guys out there listening today. If you are listening, and that's why I want to earn your support, because I get it.
So what is the main thing that you want the voters to know about you wholeheartedly, and why they should tomorrow vote for Leticia Plummer?
I'm not a politician.
Okay.
I never wanted to be a politician. I never aspired to be one. I'm a change maker. I get things done. And I don't make deals on the side. I'm gonna fight for what my community wants me to fight for. And I want to be a voice for them. And that's sincere.
That's good. That's true.
Thank you.
Ken, I want to give me a background. Where are you from? Where did you go to school?
Sure. So I'm going to go back to my parents because I think it's really interesting. My dad was in the Peace Corps. My dad's a graduate of Morehouse. He was in the Peace Corps in Kenya and in Africa, and met my mom. Heard my mom on the radio. And his sponsor family knew my mom.
Okay.
And knew her family. And he basically asked her to marry him. And they got married. They sent a note to my parents back here, and my grandparents here, and they got married. And they got married in Kenya. So my mom is from East Africa, but her bloodline, she is Yemen, and she is Persian. Wow. So it's just she's an immigrant, and so.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So, and she's amazing. And so they moved here, and my dad went to dental school in Boston, went to Harvard. I was born in Boston. Okay. I lived there for a couple of years. My mom was a room mom at Wellesley because they had no money, so she took care of the students, and that's how we lived in a dorm. I grew up in a dorm room. That's where we lived. And Dad graduated from Harvard. He came back here and started to practice, one of the first African-American dentists here in Texas.
Wow.
Has done very, very well. He's a public health doctor, which is great because he's grounded. And so I was raised supporting the Department of Defense programs with dentistry, helping the indigent, and I have been a dental assistant with him since I was 12 years old. So I wasn't that kid that got money.
You grew up in this.
I was in, and my dad, and my dad was that person. You know how your parents pay you for grades? No.
That's what you're supposed to.
That's the expectation. That's an expectation. You don't get paid for grades. My dad's hardcore. I mean, he really raised us very independent, and went to Spelman. Graduated from Spelman. I remember leaving Spelman as a graduate, and my dad said, "So where are you going when you get back home?" I said, "What do you mean, to your house?" He said, "Oh no, you're not." He said, "You need to find a place to live unless you're gonna pay me rent."
Goodbye.
So I packed up a U-Haul and I had to find an apartment. I had 3 days to find an apartment. I moved into my own apartment with my cousin, and I lived there. I took a year off. I started my own company, a latex glove company, because I wanted to take a break after college, and then I went to Baylor for dental school.
A latex glove company.
Yeah.
So how was that experience?
It was great. It allowed me to be a small business owner very early on.
So you touched a few different things.
Yeah. So it was
any brothers or sisters?
I do. I have a sister that's a veterinarian, and my brother is also an entrepreneur. So we're all three entrepreneurs. But you know,
that's different. It's always a simple something. Latex gloves.
Yeah, exactly. But it was great because I understood delivery, I understood production, I understood budget. It really helped me. I mean, I got.
How old were you at that time?
I was 20.
Wow.
19.
20 years old.
19, 20. I delivered all my own gloves. I got all my own contracts. I would go down to Harris County. I would bid for my contracts. So I learned a lot in that interim time on my own. I was a delivery person.
You've been building up for this mom for a while.
Exactly. So ladies and gentlemen, not only is she's bona fide, certified, and qualified.
She got the #1 cheerleader.
Experience is a great teacher.
Yeah, it is. And so so that's it. And then after that, you know.
Latex glove company.
It's called Safe Hands.
You still going on?
No, I have the name still, but yeah.
You don't deliver
I'll deliver.
I'll make deliveries for you.
but you know, that's important, guys, because I think we do too much for our children sometimes.
We were just talking about this. I just I said a lot of real owners and CEOs of companies, they put their children at the bottom. So in the summertime, they're working. I just said this because it's so easy to throw you to spoil you in position of power.
My mama didn't own nothing, and she put me at the bottom like
every time. You don't have to work. You don't work.
You have to work.
You want this? Is what you
I could not believe it. I grew up. I spent most of my summers in Huntsville, Texas, in the country, and we had my great grandfather had a hog farm, and I'm in the trash cans, and my friends walking by. I'm in the trash can getting food for the hogs, putting them in bags, and my friends is walking by looking at me, and my mama say, "This is what feeds you, so it doesn't really matter." So
exactly.
Yeah, I didn't get paid for that, bro. It was an embarrassment, but you get used to it.
So where can people find you, just to kind of know about you
Sure.
and everything? Where can people find you on any platform?
Okay, so my political site is Plummer, Plummer, TX22. So Plummer, Texas 22. Most of the issues that I'm focusing on are on there. And then if you want to look at me from a dental perspective, because I am a dentist. I ever say I was a dentist?
You did. Over 18
Maxwell,
years.
yes. So Maxwello Dental is my dental company.
And where is that located?
It's in Pearland. Okay. I have 2 locations actually, one in Pearland and then one in the Museum District area.
Okay, great.
And I'm still practicing full time.
Accepting
patients.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and running a full-blown congressional campaign. Yeah, it's awesome. So get out to vote, guys. Tomorrow is the day. It is election day tomorrow. The polls open from 7 to 7. You can go on my website to Plummer TX22 to find out where your polling location is in our district if you're in the district.
Okay.
I'm encouraging everyone, please, just take a moment and go vote. The polls open at 7 a.m. and they close at 7 p.m.
Guys, you have it here, Texas 101 Jams. Under the influence, we have Dr. Leticia Plummer running U.S. Congress, District 22. So make sure you go out and voice your voice and vote. because
What
it's
did he say?
the right thing to do. Voice your voice.
Voice your voice.
What did he say?
Use your voice.
No votes.
Use your voice.
Use your voice and vote.
Put down the ball.
We have control.
We have control.
We have control. The ball is in our court.
So voice your voice.
Voice your voice.
Voice your voice.
Whatever that means.
Let your voice count.
Exactly.
Voice your
There you
voice. I'm gonna get a shirt. Voice your voice.
Voice your voice. And then pick the plum on the back.
Exactly.
You break it.
All right. Yeah.
Bam.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Bill.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
That was awesome, guys.
Rush.
Let me close this off.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Spell me.